This is the 7th and last day of the July 94-7-Day retreat in Springwater. Since we're reading today from all kinds of copyrighted materials, this tape is not for sale. The first selections will be from Huangpo, a Zen teacher who lived about 1,000 years ago. His talks and conversations were written down by his disciple, Peisu, who was also a Buddhist scholar and the governor of the province where Huangpo taught. When Huangpo, who was a Buddhist, talks about the Buddhas, all the Buddhas, the past and present, he does not refer to the historical personage of Gautama Buddha, but the word in Sanskrit means an enlightened being, or enlightened being, without individuality. These passages have been abbreviated and words, paragraphs, sentences cut out, because this is not a presentation of Huangpo, but something that may be helpful to hear. And look, listen. The Master said to me, all the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind. Here the translator, John Blofeld, has capitalized one and mind. All Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind, beside which nothing exists. This mind, which is without beginning, is unborn and indestructible. It is not green nor yellow and has neither form nor appearance. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of young or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. This one mind alone is the Buddha, and there's no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, but that sentient beings are attached to forms and seek externally for Buddhahood or for enlightenment. By their very seeking they lose it, for that is using mind to grasp mind. Even though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. They do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, it will appear before them. For this mind is the Buddha, and Buddha is all living beings. It is not the less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas. Mind is like the void in which there is no confusion or evil, as when the sun wheels through it, shining upon the four corners of the world. For when the sun rises and illuminates the whole earth, the void gains not in brilliance, and when the sun sets, the void does not darken. The phenomena of light and dark alternate with each other, but the nature of the void remains unchanged. So it is with mind. If you look upon Buddha as presenting a pure, bright, or enlightened appearance, or upon sentient beings as presenting a foul, dark, or mortal-seeming appearance, these conceptions resulting from attachment to form will keep you from supreme knowledge or understanding, even after the passing of as many eons as there are sands in the Ganges. There's only the one mind and not a particle of anything else on which to lay hold. If you students of the way do not awake to this mind, you will overlay mind with conceptual thought. You will seek enlightenment outside yourselves and will remain attached to forms, pious practices, and so on, all of which are harmful and not at all the way to supreme knowledge. Knowledge not here connected with intellectual knowing. The translator uses this word. Supreme insight or supreme understanding. Wordless understanding. Our original nature is in highest truth devoid of any atom of objectivity. It is void, omnipresent, silent, pure. It is glorious and mysterious, peaceful joy. And that is all. Enter deeply into it by awakening to it yourself. That which is before you is it, or you can say that which is within you. There is no division between before you and inside you. There is no borderline. That which is before you is it in all its fullness, utterly complete. There is naught beside. Even if you go through all the stages of progress toward Buddhahood, one by one, when at last in a single flash you attain full realization, you will only be realizing that which has been with you all the time. And by all the foregoing stages, you will have added to it nothing at all. You will come to look upon those eons of work and achievement as no better than unreal actions performed in a dream. Once I put this question to the Master: how many of the 400 or 500 persons gathered here on this mountain have fully understood your Reverence's teaching? The Master answered, their number cannot be known. Why? Because this way is through mind awakening. How can it be conveyed in words? Speech only produces some effect when it falls on the uninstructed ears of children. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and by scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception, sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, or that there is no division, no separation, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And with this understanding, you awake to the truth. Your true nature is something never lost, even in moments of delusion. nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. Absolute, the word itself means not dependent, not conditioned. It is a jewel beyond all price. When a sudden flash of thought occurs in your mind, when a sudden flash of thought or image occurs in your mind, and you see it for a dream or an illusion, then you can enter into the state reached by the Buddhas of the past. Not that the Buddhas of the past really exist, or that the Buddhas of the future have not yet come into existence. Above all, have no longing to become a future Buddha or enlightened being. Your sole concern should be, as thought succeeds thought, to avoid clinging to any of them. But how can we prevent ourselves from falling into the error of making distinctions and separations between this and that? And judgments, we may add. And Huang Po says, by realizing that though you eat the whole day through, no single grain has passed your lips, and that a day's journey has not taken you a single step forward. Also, by uniformly abstaining from such notions as self and other, do not permit the events of your daily lives to bind you, but never withdraw yourselves from them. Avoid the error of thinking in terms of past, present, and future. The past has gone, the present is a fleeting moment, and the future is yet to come. When you practice meditation, sit in the proper position. You can add your proper for each one. It may be different for different people, different ages, different physical conditions. Stay perfectly tranquil. We'll leave the perfect out. Stay tranquil. I put it in a question, is it possible to stay tranquil? Then there's no injunction here. Do not permit the least movement of your minds to disturb you. Or if disturbance occurs, can it be seen and let go of in the seeing? This alone is what is called liberation. An excerpt from a collection by the Krishnamurti Foundation, India. It is an excerpt from a talk given in Bombay in 1955. The questioner asks, what is this self-knowledge of which you speak, and how can I acquire it? Krishnamurti: it is very simple, sir. The first step is the last step in self-knowledge. The beginning is the end. The first step is what matters, because self-knowledge is not something you can learn from another. No one can teach you self-knowledge. You have to find out for yourself. It must be your own discovery. And that discovery is not something tremendous, fantastic. It is very simple. After all, to know yourself is to watch your behavior, your words, what you do in your everyday relationships. That is all. Begin with that and you will see how extraordinarily difficult it is to be aware. Just to watch the manner of your behavior, the words you use to your servant, to your boss, the attitude you have with regard to people, to ideas and to things. Just watch your thoughts, your motives in the mirror of relationship. And you will see that the moment you watch, you want to correct. You say, this is good, that is bad, I must do this and not that. When you see yourself in the mirror of relationship, your approach is one of condemnation or justification. Therefore, you distort what you see. Whereas, if you simply observe in that mirror your attitude with regard to people, to ideas, to things, if you just see the fact without judgment, without condemnation or acceptance, then you will find that every perception has its own action. That is the beginning of self-knowledge. You see, the inquiry into self-knowledge is an outward movement which later turns inward. At first we look at the stars, and then we look within ourselves. In the same way we look for reality, for God, for security, for happiness in the objective world. And when it is not found there, we turn inward. This search for the inner God, the higher self, or what you will, completely ceases through self-knowledge. And then the mind becomes very quiet, not through discipline, but just through understanding, through watching, through being aware of itself every minute without choice. Don't say, I must be aware every minute, because that is just another manifestation of our foolishness. When we want to get somewhere, when we want to arrive at a particular state. What matters is to be aware of yourself and to keep on being aware without accumulating. Because the moment you accumulate, then from that center you judge. Self-knowledge is not a process of accumulation. It is a process of discovery from moment to moment in relationship. Here's a brief section from I Am That by Nisargadatta. He died about the same time as Krishnamurti in India. Uses different words. The word self for Nisargadatta is not ego or me, I, but true nature, the whole, indivisibility. That which is beyond words and concepts, that is called the self. This is entitled Obsession with the Body. Questioner. Maharaj, that's the appellation. Maharaj, you are sitting in front of me and I'm here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Nisargadatta, there is no basic difference. Questioner. Still, there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Nisargadatta, I'll just say N, short. Because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner: you too are a superior person. You claim to know the real while I do not. In: did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who invented such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not know. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner: your words are wise, your behavior noble, your grace all-powerful. In: I know nothing about it all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them. Questioner: what made you so dispassionate? Nisargadatta: nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. See, it's just the opposite from Krishnamurti's teaching. Don't trust anyone. Because people trust Krishnamurti too. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me I'm nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me nor mine. Questioner: why were you so lucky to trust your teacher fully, while our trust is nominal and verbal? And who can say? It happened so. Things happen without cause and reason. And after all, what does it matter who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to opinions, even your own? Questioner: still you are different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. And I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her laws, unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is consciousness in which everything happens. It is quite obvious. It means that there's consciousness within which everything happens. This is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner: what do you see? And I see what you too could see here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things, peoples, ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus, become aware of your own existence. See how you function. Watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. He doesn't say by guilt. He says by inadvertence, inattention. We build prisons, or thought builds, and there's no builder. No one is doing it, it's just happening. Inattention. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself, or truth. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary. It is not a product of the mind. Even the sense I am is not continuous, though it is a useful pointer. It shows where to seek, but not what to seek. Just have a good look at it, at the sense of being. Once you're convinced that you cannot say truthfully about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed at can be yourself, you are no longer intent on verbalizing what you are. All you need is to get rid of the tendency to define yourself. I'm this, I'm that, good, bad, important, unimportant, man, woman. All definitions apply to your body only and to its expressions. Once this obsession with the body goes, you will revert to your natural state spontaneously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I'm aware of my natural state while you are bemused. Just like gold made into ornaments has no advantage over gold dust, except when the mind makes it so, so we are one in being. We differ only in appearances. We discover it by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's life to this discovery. Here are a few selections from Vimala Thakur's Being and Becoming. She's a teacher now living in India. She used to travel all over the world. The book gives some of the dialogues which took place in Dalhousie, India during the summer of 1989. She's still alive. We are talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field without creating a knower. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupidity. One could also say, instead of stupidity, our stupefaction. We do not know how to relate to the structures of society and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It is only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever you have touched it with thought, you have manipulated it, you have structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity. It has a utility, but no authority. An alternative way of living is feeding the brain and the system with all the knowledge, the techniques, without getting identified with them. It is only identification with the knowledge that creates the illusion of the knower. It is the creation of a knower or a thinker or a doer that builds up your bondage, the creation of the me. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle. You have a beautiful, sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets into touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring sensations. Sensations are converted back to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It is a marvelous process, what you call experiencing. Contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual, sexual experience, but you create an experiencer and you get stuck in the experiencer and his likes and dislikes, its value structures, its preferences, its prejudices, its theories. If the sensual contact with objects is allowed to flow through you without creating an experiencer, then the limited man-made world cannot corrupt you. As the oneness of life manifesting itself into manyness does not get corrupted, does not lose its vitality, does not get mutilated. In the same way you acquire knowledge and you appear as an individual playing the role of a father, a mother, a brother, a child, a son, you are one appearing as many. There's no identification with the fatherness, the sonness, the daughterness, the sisterness, and you don't tie so many knots inside, but play the roles sanely, completely with the magnificence of an inner equipoise. Then you're appearing as many, functioning as many. You're acquiring the knowledge of structures, and handling of structures shall not corrupt you. That is the way of meditative living. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, with concentrations, with methods, techniques, Kundalini, Shakti paths. The word has been abused and misused in many ways. No authority and no effort. Freedom from authority and freedom from the struggle of efforts. Once you know that these human-made enclosures are only to be lived in, then the sense of comparing yourself with others, he has a palace and I have a hut, he has millions and I only have thousands, the sense of comparison and the ambition for competition disappears. Your economic life becomes simple, no vanity, no pride about your scholarship, erudition, and so forth. And your social life becomes simple. You do not move around with a begging bowl for sympathy, acceptance, prestige, acknowledgement, and so forth. Reconciled to the limitations, to the enclosures, you live and move in it. Can you see with me that effortlessness is the content of silence? Silence is inner unconditional freedom from the authority of the past. Silence is inner unconditional freedom from the authority of the past. Silence is unconditional freedom from effort and therefore the alternative way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In the moment of relating, you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you are dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody or being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody. Sinner, saint, holy, knowledgeable, respected, rich, and so forth. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may or it may not. That is what we are afraid of. Dying to the sense of being somebody. Dying to all the images that you have built up about yourself is being alone. The way we are tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional way, a non-traditional approach. But I'm really grateful that life brings you and me together. One short section from Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, beginning of this century, translated by Herter Norton. This letter was written 1904 in Sweden. You have had many great sadnesses which passed. And you say that even this passing was hard for you and put you out of sorts. But please consider whether these great sadnesses have not rather gone right through the center of yourself. Whether much in you has not altered. Whether you have not somewhere, at some point of your being, undergone a change while you were sad. Only those sadnesses are dangerous and bad which one carries about among people in order to draw them out, like sicknesses that are superficially and foolishly treated. They simply withdraw and after a pause break out again the more dreadfully, and accumulate within one, and are life unlived, spurned, lost life of which one may die. Were it possible for us to see further than our knowledge reaches, yet a little way beyond the outworks of our divining, perhaps we would endure our sadnesses with greater confidence than our joys. For they are the moments when something new enters into us, something unknown. Our feelings grow mute in shy perplexity. Everything in us withdraws. A stillness comes, and the new, which no one knows, stands in the midst of it and is silent. At a later point, there's one more sentence. It is necessary, and toward this our development will move gradually, that nothing strange should befall us, but only that which has always belonged to us. Someone gave me and photocopied for me a few poems by Wang Wei, 699 to 761. He divided this poet divided his time between the court and his country estate, where he drew inspiration from the mountains and solitude, but also actively engaged in political life. Light lines on a flat rock. Dear flat rock, facing the stream, where the willows are sweeping over my wine cup again. If you say that the spring wind has no understanding, why should it come blowing me these falling flowers? In calm loneliness, I shut my door against the whole afterglowing sky. Cranes are nesting in all the pines, no visitors at my wicket gate. Tender bamboos with a new bloom on them. Red lotuses shed of their old garments. A lamp shines out at the ford. Water chestnut pickers come home. I sit alone in the dark bamboos, play my lute and sing and sing. Deep in the woods where no one knows I am. But the bright moon comes and shines on me here. At last I put my carriage in motion, go sadly out from the ivied pines. Can I bear to leave these blue hills and the green stream? What of that? Just at dawn, I set off for Pa Pass. With the last of spring, I remembered the capital in the bright river a woman was washing. With the morning sun, all the birds sang. Water country, markets on boats, mountain bridges up among the treetops. I climbed and hundreds of villages emerged, and in the distance 2 rivers shone. The people spoke a peculiar dialect, but the orioles sounded as in my own country. And luckily, I know about landscape, and that abated my feeling of isolation. I sit alone, sad at my whitening hair, waiting for 10 o'clock in my empty house. In the rain, the hill fruits fall. Under my lamp, grasshoppers sound. White hairs will never be transformed. That elixir is beyond creation. To eliminate decrepitude, study the absolute. Maybe one can For study, substitute the word be. And about 100 years later, a poet, Ryokan, Japanese poet, hermit, also lived in the mountains, not going back and forth. One robe, one bowl, translated by John Stevens. The vicissitudes of this world are like the movements of the clouds. 50 years of life are nothing but one long dream. Sparse rain. In my desolate hermitage at night, quietly I clutch my robe and lean against the empty window. Once again, the children and I are fighting a battle using spring grasses, now advancing, now retreating, each time with more refinement. Twilight, everyone has returned home. The bright, round moon helps me endure the loneliness. Listening to the evening rain in my hermitage, the great way. I braid flowers into a ball. The future? If a visitor brings these questions, I have only the tranquility of the hermitage to offer. Late at night, the faint sound of someone pounding rice. Dew drips from the bamboo onto the firewood pile, and the plants along the garden are also moist. Frogs croak in the distance, but then seem very close. Fireflies light low, then high. Wide awake, sleep is far off. Smoothing out the pillow, I let my thoughts drift. An evening dream. Everything must have been an illusion. I cannot explain clearly even one part of what I saw. Yet in the dream, it seemed as if the truth were in front of my eyes. This morning, awake, is it not the same dream? A thief has stolen my cushion and mat. Why did he break into my hermitage? The door is never locked. The night is ending, and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. In the distance, frogs croak in the mountain rice fields, the evening's single song. The rainy season is over. It is now clear. I go out. Green fields and cool breezes everywhere. Unable to sleep, I hear the voice of a young deer rising from the mountain ridge. The branches that will be used for this autumn's firewood are still blooming. Please gather some summer grasses wet with dew and come visit me. Not much to offer you, just a lotus flower floating in a small jar of water. I stretch out for a nap in my little hut. In the fields, frogs chant their songs, and the birds in the bamboo grove sing along. In the pond near my hut, the lotus flowers covered with dew bloom in a row. Back and forth, all day, the bent old man carries water for the parched rice seedlings. The willows are in full bloom. I want to pile up the blossoms like mountain snow. Lying on my grass pillow, dreaming about this dream world again, lonely, fitful sleep. As I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Thinking about the people in this floating world far into the night, my sleeve is wet with tears. The thief left it behind. The moon at the window. A few poems from New and Selected Poems by Mary Oliver, contemporary poet. When death comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. the sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way of the sun? Every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills or the rumpled sea, and is gone. And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world, like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say, on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things? Some questions you might ask. Is the soul solid like iron? Or is it tender and breakable, like the wings of a moth and the beak of an owl? Who has it and who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the moose is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape? Like an iceberg? Like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung like the snake and the scallop? Why should I have it, and not the anteater who loves her children? Why should I have it, and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? What about roses and lemons and their shining leaves? What about the grass? Our last selection, it's called Buck Moon, from the Field Guide to Insects. 88,600 different species in North America. In the trees, the grasses around us. Maybe more, maybe several million on each acre of earth. This one as well as any other. Where you are standing at dusk, where the moon appears to be climbing the eastern sky, where the wind seems to be traveling through the trees, and the frogs are content in their black ponds, or else, why do they sing? Where you feel a power that is not you, but flows into you like a river, where you lie down and breathe the sweet honey of the grass and count the stars, where you fall asleep listening to the simple chords repeated, where, resting, you feel the perfection, the rising, the happiness of their dark wings. end here for today.